Welcome back to Drink While You Think. It's been a minute. It's been a little while since we've done this. I think it's our first one of the year. Just been busy. We've been a little bit behind on things, so we're getting back to it.
Yeah, Kenji's in charge of scheduling them, so that's why we're.
Well, as usual, what are you drinking? How is it?
I'm trying to class this up this year, so I'm going with a red. We're using the Tempranillo grape. Testing it out. I don't know if you know this, but not in this variety. But my brother-in-law is growing on. My wife's grew up on a cotton farm, and one of the farms they're growing Tempranillo grapes, so they can sell them to wineries. So up in the panhandle of Lubbock, kind of up by Lubbock, up in the panhandle just south, they're trying to grow some Tempranillo grapes. So I don't know if they're going to be able to compete, but so I'm in their honor drinking Tempranillo grapes, so.
Texas wine. That's
Well, I don't think this one is Texas.
Yeah, true Tempranillo.
I'm guessing it's maybe a Spanish wine. I don't know. We'll see. I didn't bring the label down for you.
You guys like Spanish wine? You guys spent time there. I've got the Kona Brewing Longboard.
Oh.
Do you ever have you go and look in your fridge and you're like, I have no idea where this came from? You ever had that occasionally? I know that during football season we probably have a lot, but we didn't buy this for football. I have no idea why this is in our refrigerator. So,
is it an IPA or what?
No, it's a lager. Someone must have brought it over. Kona, I guess it's brewed in Hawaii.
I wouldn't put you on that one. So
yeah, that's definitely not from use. Somebody left it here, but pretty good. Pretty good. Seems like a long way to come from Hawaii. So, yesterday was Valentine's Day. Do you actually celebrate it?
No. So my wife 2 days before said, I didn't get you anything, so don't give me anything. So
nice.
So I did go to the store yesterday because we were out of food. So I got salmon, and the kids don't like salmon, so I got tilapia too. So I grilled salmon and tilapia, made a salad, and
there you go.
Some garlic bread, and that was our Valentine, and a Tempranillo wine, and then that was our Valentine celebration. Actually, I actually bought a bottle of Prosecco with it.
There you go. That's good. We were probably pretty similar. One of the kids had a friend over. Rochelle cooked a good meal. My wife cooked a great meal, and we was kind of pretty relaxed. We're little gifts for everybody. So we kind of do it small time, but we have a friend of ours. We'll give him a quick shout out here. The one and only Patrick Klein. Also lovingly is PC. PC and his wife have been married, I think, 25 years, and they still go out on. They still go out on Valentine's Day, which I thought was very weird. I'm like, he doesn't seem like the guy who would go out on Valentine's. I'm like, what do you mean you go out on Valentine's Day? And he said, oh, no. To be clear, we go out on Valentine's Day, sit up at the bar, and then Kathy and I have so much fun, his wife, watching, he said, amateur night, just sitting at the bar and watching awkward Valentine's dates. He said, it's a great bunch of fun. You don't buy the overpriced meals. You just sit there and have drinks and watch all the amateurs. So anyway.
That's how you make it through 25 years of marriage.
I guess so.
That's right.
Watching the awkwardness of others.
Yeah. It's not as bad as those people. That's what you say at the bar with us. That's awesome.
All right, let's jump into some of our normal stuff, the good old accounting world. So the big news last week was we saw that Intuit on their QuickBooks online pricing page threw up an option for live bookkeeping. Yeah. I think kind of some of the world was melting down about it. What were your thoughts?
I think it's funny that people melt down about that kind of stuff. I think if you go back to every session that Intuit has ever done in the last 3 years, they've kind of been building up to this, and it looks a little manipulative now. You should kind of move towards advisory services.
Oh yeah.
Advisory services, higher level services. They forgot the point where they're like, because we're going to put you out of business if you stay at the lower level services, which is pretty funny. So if you think back and think of all the messaging they've done, they foreshadowed this pretty hard. Man, do they suck at account management and getting information out to people in their ecosystem that really support them. That's the not surprising, but the biggest fail from their perspective is like, hey, like none of the account managers said anything proactively out to any of the accounting firms to say, hey, we'd love your support, or hey, we're going to test this, or so they deserve whatever blowback they get on social media. That's what I say.
Yeah, I agree. I think was my take. We saw it. I agree. I think that it's been something that they're working toward. I mean, with the future of technology, I mean, come on, they're looking for ways to take lower level, more manual jobs and automate them. I mean, it's natural. It's going to happen at some point. You know, we see this a lot. You and I do, and our firm does in the startup space. It's called customer discoveries. Like when you put up something like, hey, would you buy this? Oh, you know, and you kind of put it up there to see how many customers might come to the table if you built a product or you offered a service. So that's a kind of a natural thing they do in the startup world. I saw an interesting, I think I saw in some communications that you had, it was called an empty wallet test. Did I see that was what it was called? I've never heard that before. An empty wallet test.
You can click on it, but you can't buy it.
Yeah, exactly. The empty wallet test. That's new terminology. But I guess, I also put it out there on our firm's Slack channel. Did you see the response from Xero that Kerry Goman, their president, kind of wrote?
Yeah. They went the other way with it, didn't they?
So what are your thoughts about that?
Well, I mean, that's nice that they say that. I'm gonna keep that for 2 years. Because if Intuit's successful with live bookkeeping, Xero's following in years. But we'll see. Intuit's saying they're not going to do something until the end of the year, which aligns. I mean, maybe they have the messaging scheduled for November for their partners that in QuickBooks Connect they can launch.
Yeah, talking at QuickBooks Connect.
Yeah. They're going to have some pissed off people between now and then because people are hot on social media.
They are, yeah, pretty worked up about it. So, yeah, I thought the Xero response, I wasn't surprised by the Xero response. It's probably a smart thing. I think it's always interesting to watch two big competitors kind of go at it and what strategically how they position themselves. I thought Kerry did a nice job of talking about they were going to go the other way and we're going to really elevate and lean into partners and bookkeepers. So, smart kind of tactically when you watch them kind of go back and forth on that. So, to your point, we'll see how that plays out. Ultimately, it'll be about market share, and it'll be about, where they can make progress across their solutions. So,
the line between automating and customer support gets really blurry in those two platforms real quick.
Yeah.
As technology progresses. So
exactly
where they cross the line, I was kind of fine with them saying that they're going to do setup and stuff like that. That seems like customer support kind of like should do setup for your product. But when they talked about monthly categorization and reconciliation, when they're talking about actually going in and reconciling accounts for people, I kind of expected, the categorization just to be an automated thing where they flip a switch and just start booking it to whatever the computer tells them to book it to.
Which you might be doing. They might be calling it live bookkeeping. And it's a way to let people maybe ease in that particular automation. But it'll be interesting.
Reconciliation's a different ballgame altogether.
Yeah, that's a different animal. So we'll see. Some people use reconciliation in a different way than we probably accountants think of it. But on that note, we probably went a little heavy right there, but those are the big news in the space on the accounting stuff. All right, I'll flip back. We were having this discussion the other day about a very deep discussion around Valentine's Day about Valentine's candy. Well, what best candy? Favorite candy?
Go. For Valentine's?
Well, I'll open it up more broadly. You don't have to do this.
Valentine's is just a manufactured holiday, man.
I know. So just open it up to candy. Favorite candy.
Oh, yeah. Favorite candy? Depends. Well, with this season, I'm going with Thin Mint. Like that's a cookie, but I'm going to backdoor it because it's in the Valentine season.
Okay.
Thin Mint cookie, but favorite candy probably peanut M&M. How about you?
I'm going to go the 100-gram bar, which, by the way, our awesome Kelly, who we work with, who always brings candy to the office, she's got in that candy bowl in the office the peanut M&Ms and the 100-gram bar. So she's
I know.
She's awesome, and she's killing us too. So
she's nailing it right there. So.
Okay, this one I won't have as much input on, but I thought about this today too. And I always stay away from this topic just because, and you do too, because we're not political guys. So Trump coming out, state of emergency for the funding of the wall. You know, I think it was earlier this week or maybe late last week. He was actually in El Paso and was kind of considered, probably our most prominent border town. But I guess people probably don't know. A lot of people don't know. You also grew up there, so I'm curious. Not just about you. I don't care about your political side of it. Like, okay, you grew up in a border town. What was that like? There's a wall there now, but was there a wall? Like, how did it?
There's a wall there now, if you call it that. I mean, growing up there was not there was no wall. No. Yeah. You could walk back and forth over the border with no paperwork. You would come back across the border and they'd be like, what country are you from? You'd be like, United States, and you'd walk through, like, no passport check, nothing. It was actually caused a problem at I don't know if I've told you this story, at my honeymoon, because we were flying to Cancun, and I didn't know that you had to take a passport if you took a flight into Mexico, because all my life you just walked over and walked back and you didn't need an identification. You didn't even need a driver's license to get back. So I was actually, the morning of my flight, or at the airport, we're panicked because I don't have a passport. I didn't have a passport at 18 because I'd always just gone back and forth to Mexico, and I'd never been to Europe. So we actually had to find somebody who could find my birth certificate. But if you're thinking about, like, everybody's at my wedding who we know, so we had to call somebody who we didn't invite to the wedding to break into my parents' house, because everybody with keys was in Post, Texas. And so our neighbor, one of our neighbors, ended up crawling through the dog door and getting my birth certificate and sending it to us. But that's how safe it was to walk across the border, or that's how the border security was when I grew up. And it was nobody complained about it. I actually listened to a podcast about it, and there was a general that was put in charge of the border security at some point. And the border problems, it was kind of a historical view, and the border problems didn't really start until we started enforcing our border policies. Because what would happen historically is people would come to the States, and then they would go back to their families and take the money with them that they needed, and then they would come back the next season to work, because they do a lot of seasonal working. Lots of the illegal immigrants did. And what happened with borders, when we started, the general got put in part of the border patrol. He started enforcing the rules, and the rules had been the same forever. Yeah. He just started enforcing them. So the unintended consequence of that is people got in and then wouldn't go back because they feared they couldn't get back to provide these jobs and money for their families, which paid for their families all the time. So now illegal workers are stuck here. They can't cross back, which is a funny situation, right? Like, there's tons of illegal immigrants in the United States that want to go back, as long as we would let them back in to do the seasonal work.
Yeah.
So, but the biggest problem right now, and my mom's a big volunteer, is they're processing people so slow. Like, people are applying for asylum.
Yeah.
They process people so slow that they just have an overflow of beds in these kids. And she's working with all the kids on the border and trying to get them through volunteer, bring socks, sheets, whatever the heck my mom does all the time, because she's a saint. But she's just sad that we can't process people faster and whatever. Like, she doesn't even care what the rule is. Like, let them stay, send them back, whatever. Just
be efficient about it, and
send more judges here so they can do it in a humane way. The process has almost become inhumane so I don't know.
Listen, I mean,
I have a lot of disdain.
I'm not surprised at all by your mom out there working working the boards. I'm also not surprised too. It's kind of in the May DNA. Like, they want things efficient, and here's the rule, and we'll follow it and do it, but just make it efficient. That's a very a May thing there. So, okay. I don't have any experience on that one. I grew up in the opposite of that, in the middle of corn country in Illinois. We had no borders. We had a lot of cornfields. We had no.
Lots of Kuramotos up there right here too.
Not any. We were like the one Japanese family in the entire Midwest. So, all right, we'll go back to the accounting side for a sec. We started a tax practice here at Acuity only a couple months ago. It's in its early days. What's been the most surprising thing you learned about having a tax practice thus far?
Me? About a tax
practice? You were expecting? Maybe,
how many people want us to do their personal returns?
Oh, really?
So I was expecting our clients to want to do it, but then I realized, it was kind of more eye-opening that a lot of our clients, almost all, I would say over 50% of our clients, like they're such closely held companies that their work is their personal.
Right.
So that's been the most surprising thing to me probably is the number of people signing up for doing the personal tax return since it's so linked.
Yeah. Even though we're not opening up ours to people who we don't work with from a business perspective. But you're right. We've had more of those than I expected. I think the big one for me is that when you let your CPA license go inactive, like I have done past number of years, you have to go get fingerprinted to be able to process tax returns. Yes, I was at the county sheriff's office earlier getting fingerprinted. That was something I was not expecting with opening a tax practice, that my fingerprints would need to go on file. So that's
Since I'm the responsible one that keeps their CPA certification up.
That's right. I'm like, I'm never going to get back into public accounting. I don't want to, do all the CPE stuff. It's just a hassle, and I do it all on December 31st. And now I'm
a lifelong learner, so I don't worry about the CPE stuff.
Whatever. Okay. We can't ever get through these without at least talking some sports. It's kind of
oh my gosh,
a weird time right now. This is a tough time of year. There's just not a lot going on sports wise.
I was just doing that, waiting for you to get on the Zoom link. I was looking at the cap situation. So.
Yeah, nobody probably besides us is looking this early at like NFL and football stuff. We are, however, focusing on cap space. I guess a few quarterbacks moving around right now. I guess Flacco to Denver. I guess Nick Foles are trying to figure out where he's going to land here. Whatever, but I guess it's really kind of going into college basketball time right now. I know you and I were probably both back in the day big college basketball fans. It's not quite March Madness; it's getting there. But do you have you have to name one, your favorite college basketball team?
UTEP. That's easy.
UTEP. Well, what UTEP like? Is there a certain
UTEP Miners?
Was there a certain year or something when they had like
you want to go back to the year?
Yeah,
you want the year?
A team you liked?
A team I liked? I don't remember teams. I remember players.
Well,
Oh man, I remember the Tim Hardaway years.
Yeah.
I remember when Anthony Davis and Greg Foster. Different Anthony Davis. Greg Foster came through there.
Yep.
There's a young guy, Jeep Jackson, that came through there.
What kind of time? It was probably 90s or late 80s?
Oh no. So I was a diehard in the late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah.
So any 85 to 93 team from the UTEP Miners, that was like, oh yeah. I was going to as many games as I could. Would watch Don Haskins coach walking up and down the thing. So I still like John Wooden better than Don Haskins just because.
Well, he's John Wooden. So
it was, meeting coach was one of the highlights of, my young life, going to his basketball camp and stuff like that. That was fun.
Yeah, mine, I'm going to, I'll sneak two in. You get to talk about El Paso for a while. My first one was the Flying Illini. That was the 88-89 University of Illinois team with the Final Four. Had just a great team. Kendall Gill, Nick Anderson, Steve Bardo, Lowell Hamilton, and who am I missing? I'm gonna catch some crap for missing some of the others. But anyway, it's I love that team. They were just a great team. Oh, Kenny Battle. Sorry, I think Kenny Battle's on that team too. Great.
I can't believe you don't go with a Wake team there.
Well, my second was that was when I was in high school. So 88, 89, I was 15, 16. That was just great team.
Yeah, that's what I was.
Like you, when I grew up, we were right down the road from University of Illinois. So we went to all the basketball games as a kid.
Yeah.
And then in college, I was really lucky. We were there during the heydays. I thought the real heydays of ACC basketball, and being there. So the 95 team, that was the year I graduated, when they won the ACC championship. We made it Sweet 16 in the tournament. We had tournament every year, had great NCAA and ACC teams. Tim Duncan was there. It was one of his first years. Duncan was there, Randolph Childers. That was a great, great team. So, yeah, winning the conference championship was a big deal, but, man, it was awesome back then. So those are my two favorite teams. Love those teams. But,
That was pretty cool.
yeah. One last one before we make this one go for on and on forever here. Speaking of colleges, I know you are taking your oldest on the first college visits here.
College visits. It's crazy.
Some of the kids are off school next week here in Atlanta. So what would be, I guess, I don't know, maybe you've given this to them yet, or maybe you haven't, but like biggest piece of advice you'd think about somebody selecting a college, or best one piece of advice.
One Piece, man. I can't do One Piece.
That's why we're trying to keep, again, we're not doing a great job of keeping concise here. But
I don't like concise. Concise is overrated. Like Mark Twain said, if I had more time, I'd written a shorter letter. So the advice, I am trying to help him figure out how big of a college he wants to go to. So we're going up to Davidson and Wake right now to just show him, because his mom works at Georgia State, so he's already seen the huge college. He's already been exposed to Georgia Tech.
Yeah,
let's look at some medium kind of size schools that are not tiny, but not huge. Not these just slightly bigger than your high school kind of colleges.
Yeah.
I just want him to get a sense for what those feel like, so he can.
That's a good approach. And that's a good approach. Because, I mean, the experience at a big state university school versus a small private is drastically different. So I think that's a good way to help.
I think I'll feel it on campus. I
was actually going to say that is mine. I was going to say is you got to get out there and experience it. But I remember when I went through the process, something clicked. Like you couldn't, it's a little bit one of those gut kind of moments. You're like, man, I can see myself here and I want to be here. And so I don't know any other way besides you got to just try it out and get out there. You can read all the pamphlets and look through all the stats and all those things, but you kind of have to get on campus and kind of feel it out. And it feels like it's a trust your gut type situation for some reason with the college. And I think there's the right school for every kid out there, but I'm doing that right now with my oldest. So it's an interesting time for sure.
I can just remember walking through, it was like a 2,000 student campus when I was visiting colleges. And that's about, 2/3 of that. I was about a 3,000 person high school that I went to. And they walked us through the science lab. And I was like, man, our science labs in high school are better than this.
Yeah.
And then the same week that I was doing that trip, I went up to Baylor, and it was like a 12,000 person campus. And it was like the facilities were just like, I was like, man, these are just different. These are better. Like, this is like, okay. And then UT was like, oh my God. There's like 40 people here. Like, I'm in an auditorium classroom. Like, is what class is like with like 170 people? Like,
yeah, it'd be good to get them to kind of experience that. So,
and you'll appreciate this. Like, can you imagine me in a 170 person class trying to get every word in? Like, you'd be like, oh yeah, this is not going to work for Matthew.
I can see you trying. However, I can see your also frustration level when you're like, wait a minute, I can't be the one who's, up front and asking questions all the time. So,
nah.
Well, it'll be good. It'll be good to hear about how you guys, the experience goes. But, well, cool. Well, hopefully we'll get back in rhythm here with our drink while you think. We'll sign off for now. Hopefully get back on it. And overall, how was the Tempranillo? How you rank it?
It was pretty good. It's a nice little red wine. So
this lager was it's okay. Not
it's
bad.
A lager. It's not one of your specials.
It doesn't feel like it's truly like a craft beer, which is okay. But it kind of seems like it tries to present itself like it's this Hawaiian beer, and
it's more.
I can't quite read the label because my eyes are getting bad these days.
So is there corn syrup in that one?
I'm sure there is. That makes it taste good, right?
That was the best Super Bowl ad ever. So
cool. So until next time, man.
See you, man.
Yep.